The first essence is that animals help children remember the shapes and sounds of the letter. We all know that a picture's worth 1,000 words. And so if a child can close their eyes and they can picture Ally Alligator and the shape she makes, or going back to this is one of the toughest things for children in school. By the time they hit kindergarten, first grade, this is tough. I mean, even earlier, if they're showing letters in preschool, this is tough, because again, they look so much alike. But if a child can picture a bear and a child can picture a deer, they can close their eyes, they can picture it, then they have it. Now they know the sound. They've got the body movement, now they can make those sound connections so that when they see it in print, whether it's a road sign, whether it's a book, regardless of what it is, then they can see that shape and go, oh, that's Bubba Bear. Now they're not having to deal with, ooh, which one is it? And when they're writing, very often children do a lot of reversals with these because they're too similar. They just can't remember. There's nothing to hold on to with a memory. And so it's when we use the animal letters, the animals instead, which when we use our animals instead, they can picture that animal wrapped around that letter. And now memory happens. And that's why we're so successful. The second essence is that we use sounds before we teach letter names. Traditionally, we teach capital letters. I was taught with capital letters and letter names. My firstborn son got the worst of my parenting instruction because, unfortunately, I taught him capital letters. I did just what was traditional. And my last two got the best because they both got Zoo-phonics. But when we're talking about letter names, we're talking about A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Believe it or not, we absolutely never use those in reading except for A, E, I, O, U. From that point on, after those 5 vowels, the sounds of the rest of the 21 letters of the alphabet are never used in reading. When a child says, how do you spell cat? We go C-A-T. Well, that is completely distorted. That's not how cat, at sounds. So what we're doing is we're going, instead of the k sound, we say C. Well, that's 2 different sounds. Instead of the ah sound, we're saying A. Instead of the t sound, we're saying T with an E sound. So we're completely distorting the word cat as we spell to them. So again, these are all things that I'm going to be asking you, and the program's going to be asking you to think about, and then when you're working with your children, you're going to be changing the style that you were taught with, and you're going to instead be working with brain-efficient, kid-efficient curriculum so that it can really, really help your child, and you're going to take out the distractions that maybe impede the child's learning. And so now you're going to have some pure curriculum here that is going to maximize your child's learning. And I just can't think of anything better. Our third essence is lowercase letters are taught before capital letters. Now, this is another thing that we've always taught capital letters first. When I look at children's clothing, even babies, and I look at baby bottles, the letters, the toys, everything's written in capital letters because that's been the tradition. We are a capital letter society. The irony of the whole thing is, look at our keyboard. What do we have on our keyboards as we type? They're all capital letters. What do you have to do to make a capital letter? You have to push the shift key. So you actually have to work hard to make that capital letter. And how often do you use the capital letter? 5% of the time or less. When you read or write, the capital letters are used 5% of the time. And then, as you're writing, how many times are you using a lowercase letter? 95% of the time. Yet what does our keyboard look like? And how hard do you have to work to make it? Capital letters are less significant than the lowercase. So what we need to do, again, is change our thinking around and say, we're going to do what's best for kids. Essence number 4, the body movement, and you're going to be learning those in just a few minutes. The body movement for each animal helps cement the phonemic information into memory. 10% of what we hear, we keep. For instance, if I just talked to you today, you'd walk out of here with 10% of what I had to say out of 2 hours. If I hold stuff up and I show it to you, and you read it, and I talk to you about it, and you walk out of here, you're going to remember 30% of this information. If I have you interact back with me or your neighbor, you're going to retain 40% of the information. And that's where we keep school. Our educational system is basically that we have the child see it, we have the child hear it, and maybe we have the child talk about it with a neighbor or give teacher feedback. So we pretty much stay in the 40% in everything we teach. Once a child does it, they can keep 70 to 100% of the information. And rarely ever, and there are not too many programs on the market anywhere, and we're by far the most, I think, comprehensive because we kind of tackle all issues of the English language. We do Zoo-phonics at all aspects. Regardless of how challenging the phonemic concepts get, we still use the body movements and the animal letters with them. And so we do D-O, big capital letters when I'm using for emphasis are okay. We do Zoo-phonics with our reading and our spelling. The children live it. And so that's a major difference. So what they're going to be doing is taking home 100%. You can't have 70% of the alphabet. You can't have 80% of the alphabet. You have to have 100%. And so your children are going to get 100% of this vital curriculum that they need for the rest of their lives.